Everybody wants results, but not everyone's willing to look at how they're training, recovering, or living day to day. And most people think that they need more motivation, or they lack discipline, or they need to add something, they need to take away something. But regardless of how disciplined you are, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, that eventually is going to fade. Take it from me personally. I go through my same ups and downs that you guys go through. And what you actually need is a framework, and I'm going to give that to you right now. And it's a system that keeps you progressing no matter what. And that's what we'll be talking about today on Pack Mentality, is something we use every day with our personal training clients, which is called the EPIC framework. And what it stands for is effort, patterns, individualize, and calibration. And I'm going to break down each one for you because this is how we take people from random to relentless in a very short amount of time. So first off, let's talk about effort. E for effort. So I know this one sounds cheesy and cliche, but it's the truth. So effort is the first pillar because nothing works without it. You can't shortcut effort. You can't buy it. You can't outsource it. And yet people constantly try. They want better results without pushing harder, without sleeping better or eating cleaner. But effort really isn't about how hard you're going to go during a workout. It's about how consistent and present you are when you train and when you do all your back end stuff. So for example, you just have to put in so much effort that you would make it unreasonable for you to not see results or to not reach your goal. So for example, let's say my goal was to be, let's just make some arbitrary goal up right now, which is to be as fit as possible. It'd be unreasonable for me to not hit my goal if I slept 7 hours a night. It'd be unreasonable for me not to hit my goal if I ate my body weight in grams of protein. It'd be unreasonable for me to not hit my goal if I trained 6 times a week with appropriate training volume, intensity, and frequency. It'd be unreasonable for me not to hit my goal if I didn't add in 10,000 steps a day. It'd be unreasonable for me not to hit my goal if I reduced my stress levels outside of work, or in work, I should say. It'd be unreasonable if I didn't hit my goal, if I didn't hire a personal trainer or a coach to help me get to where I want and to give me assessment and results and track my data. So when you look at, you kind of get the pattern here, and about blunt force trauma you're weighing to success. And another good litmus test for this is that if you repeat it today for the next 90 days, would you be closer or further away from your goals? And would your effort match the results that you want? And ask yourself that. And the truth is that effort really exposes the truth. And if your results are average, then your effort probably is too. So if before you start tweaking, you start asking for additional programs, or you start taking all these supplements, ask yourself, am I actually giving 100%? And if I repeated this day for the next 90 days, would I be closer or further away from my goals? And effort always comes before optimization. And I think a lot of times we want to skip steps, and we're like, I just had a conversation with someone the other day. They asked me some question. Oh, they asked me about German volume training. So German volume training is a 10 by 10 essentially lift program, and it's extremely high volume. And it was actually designed for people who were on anabolic steroids to break through plateaus. So they were already on anabolics, and in order to get even better, they have to put them on extreme volume. So 10 sets of 10, so 100 reps for a training session. So a good example of this would be like 10 sets of 10 back squat. You rest a minute, you do that. And someone was asking me about that the other day, if they need to get on something like that in order to break through their strength plateau. And I almost laughed out loud. I know that was kind of rude to one of my own members, but I'm like, dude, you show up 2 times a week here and then you die during class. What makes you think that you're ready for a program that was designed for professional athletes who were already on anabolic steroids in the 1970s? Like, this is not only a very old program, there's much better programs out there now, which much better progression and sustainability than German volume training, although German volume training does have its place depending on where you put it in. And we can still learn from the principles of it. However, to think you need to do something like that when you can't even, when your 1 rep max back squat is 185, we don't need to be worrying about that right now. So we need to worry about the effort that you're putting in. That leads me right into my next point, which is patterns. So in patterns, this is a really simple one, and it's really easy to recognize. And this is something that we should all audit in ourselves, is that your results aren't built on what you do once. And another example of this, I had someone else come to me the other day, and they were kind of disappointed with their in-body scan, and rightfully so. It didn't look great, and which is pretty rare. But the issue is that they maybe work out maybe once or twice a week in class, and they don't also track their food. And when I do ask them to track their food, and I asked them, I'm like, well, what have you been doing on the back end? Just kind of give me a ballpark thing. They were like, well, last night I had chicken and broccoli. Like I should have better scans. So I had to put into context for them that, hey, you can't just do it once and expect to get results. You can't even do it for a week and expect to have any kind of results. You very rarely can you do something for an entire month and expect to see results. And this is the one thing about fitness that is really frustrating, is it takes a lot of patience. It takes a long time to get good, or not, I wouldn't say good, but to hit your goals in fitness, because you have to pretty much undo a lot of habitual things and a lot of patterns that you're already in order to see the results that you desire. And you don't rise to the levels of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And this is why we have systems in place. And most people have flashes of motivation, but their patterns are inconsistent. They eat clean for 3 days, like I said, or they train for a week and then they skip the next. So when we get into that pattern, unfortunately, then, unfortunately, they wonder why nothing sticks. And patterns create your physical identity. So if you consistently show up, fuel properly, and recover, just like we talked about in the effort section, your body has no choice but to change. And if you don't, then no amount of working harder is going to fix it. So that's why effort comes first, because we have to have a relentless effort. And auditing, if I repeated this same day every day for the next 90 days, and then that puts us into a pattern. If we repeat that same pattern, whether we're already repeating patterns regardless right now, they're either good patterns or bad patterns. And these patterns either get us closer to our goals, or further away from our goals. So here's the challenge. Like, identify one pattern that's actually holding you back, and maybe it's poor sleep, maybe it's late night snacking. I know that one's me, talking to myself here, or skipping warm-ups. Although most of you do a really good job with your warm-ups, but I would say that probably the snacking or auditing what kind of food you're eating in terms of processed food is something that we need to take a look at. That is one small thing that can hold you back, that will actually propel you from going forward once you remove that one thing. And fix that one thing for the next 30 days and then watch how fast momentum builds. You have to do it for a minimum 30 days. If not, you probably won't even see results for maybe 60 to 90 days. And now if you want to see results faster, go back to the E for effort. Put in such a ridiculous amount of volume and work to the point where it's unreasonable for you not to see results. Now we're on to I, which is individualize. Now this is where most people get stuck. This is what works for one person might not work for another. And then this is what kind of goes back to my other podcast about the Instagram coaches who just kind of dial in their own program, and they either send you a free PDF or a $5 PDF, or they put you on their app. And unfortunately, you can't follow a cookie cutter program or copy your buddy's macros, because everyone responds to training stimuluses differently. Everybody responds to food differently. Everybody responds to stress differently. Everybody responds to sleep differently. And depending on where your age, if you're a parent or not, and what your job is, all these things factor into how we build out training programs. And if your body's not built for you, if your body is built for your body, your stress, your goals, it's not just guesswork. And this is why coaching matters. This is why we get results at Red Wolf, is because we can recognize these patterns and we can individualize them. And a good coach removes the guesswork. They filter everything out for you, and they can see the blind spots that you can't, and they help you train smarter, not just harder. And at Red Wolf, this is where we see the biggest transformations. It's not from the equipment. It's not from the in-body scans or the data tracking that we do. It's not from our onboarding program. It's not from our programming and our workouts. It's the coaching. It's like once someone gets a plan that matches their life, their schedule, their recovery, the results compound extremely fast. Like, just for example, we had Ehab who lost 14 pounds in 4 weeks. He was working with Aaron. He was seeing Aaron probably, I think, once a week for personal training, and he came to class like 5 or 6 times. So Ehab is a classic example of someone who put in a lot of effort. He came in 6 times a week, including personal training. And he started eating better. He started making all these decisions to make changes. And in 4 weeks, he lost 14 pounds. That is insane. And I think I already mentioned that maybe in another podcast, but I have to bring him up again because we haven't had results like that in a very long, I don't think in this entire year. We've had people lose 10 or 12 pounds in 4 weeks, but 14 pounds is very aggressive. And especially because we didn't make any changes to his nutrition on top of that. And because progress accelerates when you individualize. Once Aaron had a plan for him, once he told him exactly what classes to come to, he's like, come to my classes. I'm going to adjust things for you in the group class, and we're going to work on this stuff in our one-on-ones. That's simple. And then Aaron took care of the rest. It's amazing how quickly people can just shut off their brains and just do the work. And it's not about doing more, it's about doing what actually works for you. So ask yourself, am I guessing or am I being guided? Because guessing gets you frustrated, guidance actually gets you results. Now we're going to move into our final one, which is calibration. So this is the last pillar, and you can't improve what you can't measure. Now, kind of going back to our point, one of our core values at Red Wolf, and I've said this before, is that We make decisions based on evidence and data, and top athletes or top people or just anyone looking to get to a goal, they don't train, they track. And calibration means checking progress, adjusting, and evolving where you stall. And it's the reason why we use things like in-body scans, benchmark testing, and nutrition reviews. Without that feedback, you're just kind of coasting and you're not really know. And how can you put in more effort if you don't know exactly where your effort's going? How can you recognize patterns if you're not calibrating? So all this kind of brings everything together, which is extremely important. It's kind of like the chef's kiss at the end, if you don't mind me saying that. And it's not about being obsessed with numbers. It's not about making you feel bad. It's simply just using data to make decisions, because data is not emotional. It's really easy to say, well, I feel. If anytime someone tells you, well, I feel, well, no, I'm sorry, but that is already null. You have to have some sort of evidence to back it up. When it comes to fitness and when it comes to tracking, you have to treat it almost like a court of law. It's like, please present the evidence that this works. Because don't get me wrong, all the time I have other companies who pitch me on like a drink I should stock, or I'm trying to not to name companies because I don't want to put anyone under the bus in my podcast, but I've had another person come and be like, oh man, we'll add like 30 members to your gym. And I'm like, okay, great. What kind of case studies do you have on this? And they're like, oh, we don't have any. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of data do you have to back this up that you can add 30 members to my gym in a month? And they're like, oh, well, we just can. Like we have done it. I'm like, okay, who are your clients that I can talk to? And they're like, well, we can't give out the information. I'm like, well, do you have any data points on them without their name on it that I can just look at? And they're like, no, we don't have those numbers for you right now. I'm like, well, how can you claim those numbers without backing it up with some sort of evidence? But especially even if they did give me numbers, I'm like, well, who tracked this? Was it you? Because you can just kind of you can hand me a sheet of paper and just put whatever you want on it and sell me on something. So, and that's not what we do here. I can't. It's just, if I can't back up my claims, then how am I a good coach? Like, it's just not possible. And so you have to ask yourself weekly that, like, did you progress or did you plateau? And what needs adjusting? Is it sleep, nutrition, or is it the training load? Is it the stress? And then you need to make a tweak, and then a coach can help you do that. Because if you're not calibrating or coasting, and nobody wants to stay stuck in neutral, and this is why it's really important to talk to a coach. It doesn't cost you anything. Just meet with us, talk to us. You don't have to do an in-body scan. You can do an in-body scan. It's good to do an in-body scan because it at least gives us something to work with. But we're able to calibrate you and be like, okay, well, why don't you try X, Y, and Z? And then there's usually always one or two things that are actually going on underneath the hood that we can adjust right then and there completely for free, and just a 10-minute kind of little diagnostics that we run, and be like, hey, why don't you just, walk 10,000 steps a day, or get up 30 minutes earlier and, make breakfast. There's always small things that we can do to help you that will actually propel you into the next level, which is why people don't get stuck here very often. And usually 9 times out of 10, the only reason why people do get stuck is they just simply stop showing up. That's really the only way people don't see success. So to wrap things up here, that is the EPIC framework. It's effort, patterns, individualize, calibration, and it's not just how we coach, it's how we turn discipline into results. And effort gets you started, patterns keep you going, individualization makes it yours, and calibration ensures that you keep growing. So that's exactly what we do here at Red Wolf, and we help you go from random to refined, and from working hard to working smart. So stop guessing, start progressing, and if you need help with this, just let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful, do me a favor and leave a review, and I'll catch you guys next time. Nailed it.